threatened the Libyan people that the war will not end until the last bullet. And secondly, he made it absolutely clear that Gaddafi is waging war on the Libyan people when he confirmed that Gaddafi, his father, was still in Tripoli and leading the battle. This is a very, very important statement he made.
Well, of course, you just alluded to the fact that maybe the Arab League can get involved. If you've got a leader like Gaddafi in the moment saying that he's leading the battle and he's involved in it to the bitter end, what effect can the Arab League have? Because they've been seen as a rather toothless, useless group of people from the Middle East who could barely get anything done.
Indeed, the Arab League, as far as I'm concerned, is a useless organization, and its reforms are long overdue. And obviously some countries in the Arab world are not going to say anything because they are next on the list. Yemen, for instance, is a very good example.
Now, of course, meetings in the Middle East will happen over the Arab League in the next few hours. The United States has gone to bed. Europe is about to wake up. How do you actually see this progressing now over the next few hours, certainly? I mean, we're looking at statements, we're looking at condemnation, but at the end of the day, it's people on the streets of Libya, as far as we understand from the footage that we're seeing through mobile phones, through the internet, who are telling us their story, telling us that this is happening. Very hard to get the facts when communication links are down.
Obviously, it's very hard to get the exact facts because we have been getting mixed reports, but the bottom line is that so many countries have not been saying much, and the fact that the Security Council is going to meet, the statement by the Foreign Minister of Qatar, for instance, and the holding of the session by the Arab League is a very positive development. At least it sends a strong signal to the Libyan people that they're not alone. And obviously, the next 48 hours will be very, very different.
Indeed, they're very crucial for everyone concerned. Yusuf Blundell, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll speak to you throughout the day here on Al Jazeera. Just news coming into us as well at the news centre here in Doha, being reported by Reuters, but confirmed by an official in Egypt, that 2 Iranian Navy vessels have entered the Suez Canal. They're heading for the Mediterranean. There had been disputed reports over the past few days as to whether those vessels were anywhere near the Suez Canal or whether they were in the Mediterranean. The Iranians had said that they were making their way through the Suez Canal. It's now been confirmed by a Suez Canal officer or official. That's been reported by Reuters that 2 military vessels are heading through the Suez Canal. That will certainly concern Israel. We'll see what comment comes from them later in the day. Back now to Libya. European Union ministers have been meeting in Brussels to finalise a statement condemning the Libyan government's crackdown on protesters. Jackie Rowland is in the Belgian capital and sent us this report.
They came together to discuss recent events in North Africa, but inevitably one topic dominated the agenda: Libya. European foreign ministers spoke largely with one voice when they condemned the use of violence against peaceful demonstrators.
We're extremely concerned by the events that are unfolding in Libya. We condemn the ongoing repression against demonstrators in Libya and deplore the violence and the death of civilians. We call for an immediate end to the use of force against protesters and for all parties to show restraint. Freedom of expression, the right for peaceful assembly, are human rights and fundamental freedoms for every human being and should be respected and protected. Those legitimate aspirations and the demands of people for reform should be addressed through a meaningful, open, Libyan-led dialogue.
The EU and the United States were criticised for being slow to pick up on the popular mood during the uprisings in Egypt and Tunisia. This time they are moving swiftly to demand an end to the bloodshed in Libya.
But Europe is also dependent on Libya. Italy gets 1/5 of its oil from Libyan wells, and Libyan cooperation is vital to combat illegal immigration into Europe.
The Spanish foreign minister has spoken of evacuation plans for all EU citizens, and Britain has called on Libya to protect foreign nationals. But right now, Libya does not seem in the mood to listen to European demands or warnings. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
On to other news now, where several people are feared killed after a strong earthquake hit the New Zealand city of Christchurch. This is the second major earthquake in the area in 5 months. AlJazeera has more.
A house-sized boulder crushes a building. New Zealand television captured the moment the quake struck the country's second biggest city of Christchurch. These pictures were recorded during one of the many aftershocks, badly damaging the city's cathedral. Residents described the terrifying moments after the quake struck at lunchtime and their attempts to escape damaged buildings.
We couldn't get out, it all collapsed and all the doors were shut. We had to smash the window out, and then somebody drove up a box van. Do you understand a box van? And we just slid down a bit of a roof and jumped onto the box van and got down there.
It's the second time in 5 months that Christchurch has been rocked by a powerful quake. September's magnitude 7 earthquake caused widespread damage, but no deaths. While this event wasn't as powerful, it was at a depth of only 5 kilometres, meaning it caused worse damage.
The most frightening thing of my entire life. Absolutely scared.
Most power and water have been cut, and some streets have been flooded after water pipes burst. The city's airport has been closed and a major hospital evacuated. Emergency workers are trying to free many people trapped in vehicles or under buildings, but the rescuers are reportedly stretched to their limit. Christchurch residents were still rebuilding their lives and businesses after September's quake. This latest tremor has knocked the city back yet again. AlJazeera, AlJazeera.
Well, Craig Miller's seismologist working for GNS Science. He joins me now on the phone from Taupo in the North Island in New Zealand. Thanks very much for joining us live on AlJazeera. Can you put this earthquake into context with the previous one in September, considering the pictures that we're seeing look like Christchurch has been very badly damaged?
Sure. Well, the September earthquake was about a magnitude 7.1, and it was located probably 40 kilometres west of the city at a depth of probably 20 kilometres, whereas today's one was only 10 kilometres to the east of the city, and the magnitude was 6.3. But in terms of the actual ground shaking, today's earthquake in some places was up to twice as strong as the September one, which is why we've seen so much more damage.
In terms of geography of New Zealand and where it lies on the planet, is it susceptible to earthquakes like this of such a magnitude?
New Zealand on a whole is, but this particular area up until now has been a relatively quiet area. The historical seismicity in Christchurch is very quiet, so since the September earthquake, there have obviously been lots of activity, but prior to that, it was very quiet.
In terms of aftershocks, what can people in New Zealand, and certainly Christchurch, expect?
Well, already today we've had probably a dozen or so in the magnitude 4 or 5 range. There was actually a magnitude 5.8 about